Hey, welcome back to the Perform Well podcast. My name's Luke McLean. This week we've got a special guest. We've got the US country manager, Mark Pan. I managed to catch up with Mark while he was hitting the stores just on Skype and, got some insights into, what he does for his wellness, but also how he leads and uses wellness as an effective tool. So this is a really cool conversation about wellness during peak, during Black Friday, and then the build up to the Christmas shopping period, which we talk about how he cares for his team and how he also leads his leaders to care for their teams and the payoff of that. So I really hope you like it. This is a really great conversation and really enjoy it with Mark Pan from the US. There's a high amount of energy that can actually be good energy that gives, and they're busy but they're feeling good about it, as opposed to the high energy that's quite draining and feels quite frantic and that you're sort of constantly sort of reacting. And you've been doing it a few peaks now, so I'd imagine that with your wellness focus that the guys are getting themselves in better shape and getting ready for this further out, so it's not coming as such a hit.
Yeah, it seems that way, and look, I'm sure we're not perfect. I'm always careful to add a bunch of disclaimers to the statements, but and I'm sure that we mess some things up, but to your point, like at the very least, being mindful of it.
Yeah.
And as a support center team and retail leadership team, having it be one of the decision filters that we have.
Yeah.
Is going to make it a better experience for the team than it would have otherwise been, even though we're never going to reach perfection. You know what I'm saying? And even though it is peak and it's hard work and there's positive intensity and energy, and there's also, stressful intensity and energy. So, but I think that if, just putting it on the list, I suppose has, in our, and not just in the programmatic stuff that might look good on Instagram, but in the actual way that we build the workflow calendar, roster, stores, plan, visits. But this year seems to be, a year where, we've gotten a bit more right than wrong, and, huge hindsight list of things we can do better, but hopefully our teams will have some energy going into December, because that's actually, from a team energy standpoint, from a product standpoint, that's been to tie it back to business. But, we had this massive uptake in December.
Yeah.
Or in Black Friday, right? And then it dies down for a couple of weeks. And then we do another massive one, in the last week and a half or so before Christmas.
Yeah.
And historically, we have just flat out, it's like the 800 meters.
Yeah.
You're right. You go all out for the first 400. You go all out for the first 400 meters, and then you're just like hanging on for dear life in the second 400 meters.
Yeah.
And I think that we've paced our first 400 meters a little bit better this year.
Yeah.
So ideally, we'll have some fuel in the tank for a kick at the end of the race.
And do you actively in the stores now, Mark? Are you sort of chatting to the guys to talk about that, taking this gap week or week and a half, not at a personal level, just to focus a little bit more on recovery and getting yourself ready because it's coming again. It's like you've got something in the tank. Make sure we're ready to go that final week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really rely. Certainly talking to the store teams and in the field leadership teams across retail and VM. Because we encourage all of our leaders to have our ears to the ground on that one, because sometimes teams. God freaking love these guys. They're just so passionate and they work so freaking hard.
Yeah.
That unless you've got your ears to the ground, you won't realize that, someone hasn't had a weekend day off in 6 weeks in the lead up to before Black Friday. And if you don't actually help them, and even though we say it's part of our values and our culture, we say these things as an organization, but if you don't, sometimes people need help and sometimes that individual conversation that gives them the permission, the self-permission to please take a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
I know it's December, but you've just you've just busted your ass and delivered a great result. So those types of things we do try to keep our ear to the ground on. And then, the holidays are a stressful period outside of work sometimes for a lot of people as well. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's the best we can do. Most people aren't like going, raising their hand and going, this is what I've been up to. I think it's more of the subtle things that you have to pay attention to, body language, little side comments, the way they answer a question, those more subtle things that hopefully our team, feels good about picking up on.
Mate, I think one of the key things, and you're really good at this, and we've spoken about this in depth, but if this is a cascade, so if the leader that's meant to have the ear to the ground isn't available and they're not in great shape and they don't have the self-awareness and self-regulation themselves, they won't be able to pick up on the subtle signs from their team. So then it continues to go down. But if that self-awareness and that availability and that ability to hear and really sense how our people are doing goes right through the business, then people are a lot more conscious of how everyone's going. But if everyone's sort of reactive and going 100 miles an hour, no one can hear anyone and is aware of how everyone else is going because they're sort of trying to just fight for themselves at that stage because they're battling.
Oh, man. Couldn't agree more.
At a personal level over this time, like, what are you doing to look after yourself and like, how do you sort of walk that talk? You're very active, very fit, very mindful about what you do. Does that drop off more as peak comes because it gets busy, or do you intensify it because you see it as a real performance need?
Yeah, I would say, my real simple answer to that question is my starting point is to stay on discipline.
Yep.
During this time period. Now, for me, I'm sure there's always things that I can do better, but I do my best throughout the year to try to, take care of a lot of different parts of my life, whether it's active, whether it's eating, whether it's family, whether it's, I'm a bit of an introvert, so protecting alone time is really important to me.
Yep.
So all those, I have a certain set of things that help me perform and help make the engine run. So my starting point is, under no circumstances will I sacrifice any of those disciplines that I uphold in March, in the month of December.
Yeah. And
I work with, obviously I work with Vanessa, but also just in my own personal routine, protecting travel schedules, visits, calendars in a manner that protects those things. Like, for example, one of my little tricks all the time is actually to put all of my personal commitments on my calendar first.
Yeah.
And they're colored, so those all go on the personal calendar first, and they can be, and sometimes just like a hold of a block of time, sometimes really clear things like a workout or a training session or a commitment or a family commitment. All those things go on there first, and then I do my best. It doesn't always work perfectly, but I always do my best to work my work schedule around that. So I try to do my best to uphold that even when the intensity picks up with the business in a month like December. In terms of intensifying, there's probably only a couple of things that I will probably pay a bit more attention to what I'm eating.
Yeah, okay.
It sounds weird. Because I'm doing a lot more. We all travel throughout the year, right? But we do a lot of store visits and a lot of travel. And sometimes that travel, particularly across America, means an overnight flight or those types of things. And again, those are personal choices of mine because it's important to me to get back home to family and structure my schedule accordingly so I can meet those personal commitments. But anyway, there's just so much more. I suppose I find it more difficult during those time periods to maintain a healthy, balanced eating plan because you're in airports, you're in malls, and you actually have to really work to find something decent.
Yeah, and that was getting to my second question about, like, what if this was, going out to a someone that works in stores or a state manager or a regional manager. What would be your advice to those guys, in terms of their wellness at this time of year? Like, what are the 2 or 3 key things that you'd be looking at definitely nutrition has been one, but any other aspects of the well-being that you think can really, reduce the amount of stress that, that can come at a external level, because there'll be enough internally at work-wise, but also what can really enhance performance at this time of year?
Yeah, I already spoke about nutrition, and that's a bit of a challenge for me during these periods, and so I'd give the same advice to others. I kind of already spoke about like time management. I think that's really important. I suppose the two that come to mind are activity, and look, not everyone is a runner or any of that, and I'm not saying anyone's got to do that, but what I find is that particularly for our retail teams, there's a lot of planes or cars, a lot of sitting, even store teams, there's more traffic, there's more stress with parking at the mall. I got to take a shuttle to get to my store. There's all these things I think add these added stress elements. And I just really find some type of activity being really, really important to maintaining an appropriate and high level of energy. And it's hard, and it's real, and I'm not saying everyone's got to schedule a 5 a.m. workout before their flight. I'm kind of more talking about the extra walks, the extra stairs, so airport, and, for those that travel for our field leadership teams, airports have great, there's all sorts of stairs in airports, and there's all sorts of escalators in airports. I find like just stairs, because sometimes I'm not able to get a workout in, but stairs are great, and you're carrying your bag, and you're just going up and down stairs. Not using even we have the moving sidewalks in a lot of our airports as well. So, being okay, and obviously there's safety and actual distance that involves with this. But when I worked in stores many, many years ago, I used to like to skip the shuttle and actually walk, and actually coordinate, get there a little bit early and actually make the walk from the remote parking location to the store, those types of things. Anyway, so I think just finding an activity routine and some really small disciplines that work for you, dependent upon your individual store situation or role, is really, really important. And the other one for me, and this could be because I'm a bit more of an introvert by nature, so I'm giving a personal example. It's the alone time, and it's just the quiet time. Like I've been known to, on a commute, just have absolute silence in the car, no radio, no calls, and just be able to just collect my thoughts. So I find that for me, that works for me is to really re-energize myself. The day is especially in our business, your day is filled with so much of giving to others.
And I think that's a good point because, myself, I'm also an introvert, and there are quite a few people, and it's, as you said, it is such a giving to others. And take that also that it's the festive season, so you've got a lot of catch-ups with friends and families anyway that you don't normally have. Yep. So that time within to energize yourself, if you use that a lot throughout the year, I think it's a really good point to try to really make sure that you make that time happen for you to be at your best.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think the walking, the choice points, what I call choice points, Mark, are really important, where you can get home from work and have 3 glasses of wine to unwind, or you can get home from work and have dinner and go for a walk after dinner just to clear the head. Like that, you're trying to get the same result of just trying to disconnect from work and clear the head, but one's going to either, really give energy, and one could, take it the next day, because if it's 3 glasses of wine every night, it starts to build up after a while.
Yeah, and I'll give another personal tip on that is, because sometimes it is, and look, we're all human here, right? And a cheeseburger is damn good sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So another personal one for me is like during this time frame. I'm not a big drinker anyway, but I will not have alcohol at not one single drink during this time period. And sometimes that's helpful, is like, it sometimes can be like this perceived insurmountable goal to feel like I'm going to be this great holistic, wellness, expert. Yeah. But you're like, you know what, during this time period, I don't think I'm just going to give up alcohol. Yeah. Or I'm just going to give up processed sugar.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going to give up soda.
Yeah.
You know, like it's almost like Lent. You know, that you